Hello, Rosigear to you, and welcome to my brand new Let's Play of Game & Watch The Legend of Zelda. Yep, this is a real Let's Play. So, yeah, a couple years ago, for The Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary, Nintendo released a special version of the Game & Watch theme for The Legend of Zelda. And that's what this Let's Play is going to be showcasing. Basically, this introduced 3 games into the Game & Watch, where we had ports of the original 2 games on the NES, the greatest game of all time, and a couple other additional side things as well. So, one of these first things is, of course, the watch. The Game & Watch itself, of course, has a built-in clock and things like that, so you can see the time and things like that. But the really cool thing about this one is that the Game & Watch itself basically plays like its own little Zelda game you can watch from time to time and just see how the progress of it goes throughout the day. Now, I don't intend to demonstrate the entire thing because this is literally like a 24-hour thing, so I don't really particularly care that much to demonstrate the entire thing, but I will talk about some cool things that can happen with it. I was really hoping it would show up here, but for whatever reason it didn't. I don't know why, but whenever there's a time on the clock where all the numbers match up, something special is supposed to happen. I believe for 222, fairies were supposed to appear on screen, but they didn't appear for whatever reason here, so I'll just like splice in some extra footage of that if I can find it. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of really neat Easter eggs with this, and as you can see right here, as the time goes on, eventually Link will transition to different screens. And the really neat thing is that this will actually play through an entire playthrough of the original Zelda game. And I believe the story will end somewhere around midnight, I believe, somewhere around that time frame. So if you ever get bored and you want to see how Link's adventure is progressing, just turn on the Game & Watch and see where it's going from there. And it's pretty neat. Eventually you'll be able to take control of the game as well. And I do apologize if the camera seems a little shaky. There's not much I can do about that, honestly. So yeah, it's hopefully going to be a fun time. I was pushing the wrong button, I was throwing a boomerang, not actually using a sword. So I do apologize, the camera's going to be shaky. Game & Watch capture cards aren't exactly a thing. So, yeah, I gotta use the good old-fashioned method of using a camera to record instead of anything else. So, I think we've had some fun with the watch for a little while. Let's switch over to the timer real quick. So, the timer itself is based off of Zelda 2. So, let's go with 6 minutes. That seems like a good fair time. I was going to try to make it like a funny number, like 640, to make it as close to 64 as possible. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case because dreams don't come true. So this first episode is mostly going to be going over the history of the Game & Watch itself, similar to what we did when we Let's Play Game Boy Player a couple years ago. There will be a couple other episodes of showcasing the individual games themselves, but as for right now, we'll be focusing on the watch and the timer. Now, as for the Game & Watch itself, this was basically one of Nintendo's first major handhelds. In fact, it was the first handheld gaming console of all time. This predates the Game Boy by quite a couple years, and basically the idea behind it all came from legendary Nintendo developer Gunpei Yokoi, I believe. The story goes that he was on a train ride going to work, and he saw somebody across the aisle who was playing with a calculator. When he saw that, he realized that the same technology to create an LCD calculator screen could probably be reprogrammed to make miniature video games. And that's basically what the Game & Watch became. They're basically like LCD screens, like the one for the Game & Watch itself. For the Zelda Game & Watch, this is like a proper color screen. But graphics back then were a lot more limited, and one of the games that appears on the Game & Watch is actually based off those original LCD displays, which we'll be demonstrating a little bit later in this episode. So it's pretty interesting seeing how technology like that evolved. Eventually it became the Game Boy line, where we had like a proper handheld, because the thing with the Game & Watch is that they didn't actually use cartridges or anything like that. Each Game & Watch itself was its own separate game. So you'd have Game & Watch, Fire Escape, Game & Watch, Manhole. I can't remember for the life of me what them all are called. But yeah, the Game & Watch itself is definitely a pretty interesting history. And all the characters eventually became playable in Super Smash Bros. With the introduction of Mr. Game & Watch in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Mr. Game & Watch and Pac-Man, they both debuted about a year or so before Mario came out, and to this day, Mr. Game & Watch is the oldest playable character in Super Smash Bros. He's not the oldest game that appears in the Smash series, however, because in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, there's a Assist Trophy that introduced Pong into the game. So that's pretty much as far back as I can possibly go. So unless Pong becomes playable, then I don't really foresee a character themselves ever becoming older than Mr. Game & Watch in the series. So yeah, the big difference between the Game & Watch and the Game Boy line is, of course, the fact that Game Boys had their own cartridges and things like that. You could play multiple games on the same system and things like that. They also had multiplayer, and it was pretty interesting. The Game & Watch itself would go on to make a couple reappearances throughout the years. It definitely didn't last very long after the Game Boy came out, but there have been a few of them here and there. For example, prior to the Zelda Game & Watch, there was the Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch. This was a cool idea, but here's the thing. It was literally only Super Mario Brothers. And as fun as that game is, there's only so many times you can re-release the same game every couple years before it gets stale. Because within that time frame, they had also released, I believe, Super Mario 35, which was the same concept as the original Super Mario Brothers, but they turned it into like a free-for-all battle royale game where everybody was playing through the game, but depending on how well they were doing, they could affect everybody else. I'm really bummed that I never got around to playing this game because for some stupid reason, this game is no longer playable. It was hugely successful, but they were like, oh no, we don't want people to have fun. We only want them to have fun for a limited number of time. So yeah, unfortunately that is discontinued now, so you can't play it anymore, which is really, really dumb. They also released Super Mario All-Stars on SNES Online around this time. So that was another version of the original Mario Brothers that came out around the time frame too. So yeah, that was a pretty interesting time. But the Zelda Game & Watch itself is really cool because it has because the original two games and Link's Awakening, they can all take some pretty time to get through. So you have a lot of options for a lot of playtime with this thing. Now, there are a lot of people who are bummed that this was pretty much the only thing Nintendo did with Zelda's 35th anniversary. Personally, I didn't think it was that much of a deal because I don't think 35th anniversaries are really all that important that much. Except for Disneyland, because Disneyland's 35th anniversary was kind of a big deal for the parks. But that's not really related to video games, that's just more of a fun fact that I like. So, yeah, there's that. There was Skyward Sword HD that came out around the same time as well, so that's pretty interesting. And the game that's currently playing right now, it plays, I don't know if this has the same amount of content that we'll see from the Zelda Watch from earlier. I don't know if this plays through like an entire playthrough of Zelda 2 or anything like that. It is fun to look at, it's just that I have some fairly mixed opinions on Zelda 2. We'll get to that soon enough. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up, SpongeBob. Oh, I never actually seen that before. Oh, the top score. Oh my god, I couldn't ignore that. That was funny. Alright, so with all that taken care of, let's move out of the timer and move on to other stuff. So let's move on to this one, Game & Watch Vermin. This is a reskin of the original game, but with a Link instead. So it's going to be pretty fun. Basically, the idea is that you got these jerks who are going to try to get through the thing, and it's your job to murder them and all in cold blood. I don't know how far we'll play into this game because, honestly, it is pretty fun, but it's not something that I could see myself playing for a long time. I'm going to see if we can at least get to 64. That's going to be my big goal, but that's basically what we're going to do with our life for the next 20 hours. because that's how long it takes to play Vermin, I decided. So it is cool that they did this, that they have like a fun little reskin of this game. Basically, the big strategy for this game is to try to memorize the pattern that all the vermin are going through. So we see the left one, the middle one, another middle one, and then another middle one, and then another middle one, and then one on the right. So that's basically going to be the strategy for that. It's not really complicated of a game. It's just one of those things where it's really a matter of how much longer can you play this game. There's nothing wrong with that, though. Like, it's pretty fun having a game they can just mindlessly play for a little while. And everybody has their favorites. Like, even if I'm terrible at it, I like the original Pac-Man. So that's pretty fun. Donkey Kong's another good one. We're doing pretty well. And we're at 64. Alright, everything's great. Everything is sweet. Everything is grand. I've got the whole wide world in the palm of my hand. Everything's perfect. It's falling into place. I can't seem to wipe this smile off my face. Life's a happy song when there's someone by your side to sing along. I'm not quite sure how much longer we'll go with this. We'll probably go for just a little bit longer. But yeah, moments like this, when it starts ramping up like that randomly, like that's always pretty fun, because like, oh boy, it's actually getting difficult. This is gonna be fun. Alright, so let's go to 128, and then that's where we'll call it for Vermin for now. But probably we'll go after the other... I'll probably go after the other mode too, because there's technically 2 other modes of Vermin in the Game & Watch. We'll demonstrate them in a moment. After we get to 128, because that's divisible by 2, that's divisible by 64, which I think is funny. We were literally 1 away from 128. No! Oh, if I cared, that would hurt. We already got to 64, so that's all that really matters. Game B. I don't know what the difference is. They look... Oh, they do a swirly turn. They do a turn. And that makes things more of a pain. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to get a good score on this one, because I honestly don't really care. Like, this is a fun game and all, it's just I don't care. There is actually a third mode of Vermin in this game as well. So, we'll talk about that in a moment. But, okay, how did that one appear faster than the other one? Didn't the other one appear first? I don't know. But again, this is just this is like a harmless little game that's pretty fun distraction if you ever feel like it. Like, I don't know, like maybe you finished the other Zelda games already and you're pretty content with moving on with your life and things like that. So we're gonna back out of Vermin for a bit, go back into the timer, and as we go into the Game & Watch, as we go into Vermin, hold down the A button. Or not, did I mess up? Is it the start button? Which button do we push again? Hooray for editing! Alright, so let's get back into the game. To reset it, you can also go into this mode to change the brightness and things like that, or change the volume. Let's reset the game, and basically what you want to do to activate Game C, hold down the button when you go into the game for 5 seconds. And then... Game C activated. I don't know what the difference is, and this is my first time ever doing this. This is really quick. Do we only get 1 try? Huh. Oh, this is interesting. Let's do this. Oh, you do only get 1 try. Oh, that is cool. Oh, man. Like, I was just thinking that this is like a very easy game and things like that. But no, there's actually... Honestly, that wasn't too bad of an attempt on... I'm trying to do commentary and stuff. I could probably do better if I was fully paying attention to the game. But... you know, this is still a pretty fun time. We'll try one more time to try and beat our record, but we can do this. I don't think we'll get to 64, unfortunately, but we'll be able to do this. It seems like it's going to the same pattern. Yeah, it didn't work. Okay, yeah, I'm done with this. But that's basically how you activate Game C on Vermin, so that's pretty fun. Now, a couple of interesting things that will go more in detail and stuff. Like, we're going to have each of these games be given their own dedicated videos, but there is stuff that I'd like to talk about in this video for each game. The big thing is they can choose different language options. And the really cool thing about this is that this doesn't only include the original Zelda game, it includes the Famicom version. Which means technically you can play with the original Famicom soundtrack because there is like a difference between the two. It's not a very big difference. Like I honestly can't really tell that much of a difference. Let's turn down the game audio just a little bit. There you go. But yeah, what I'm trying to say, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little scatterbrained right now. So there's like a big difference with the sound quality between the NES and the Famicom versions of this game. Like, we'll listen to the music real quick so you can hear it. So yeah, you can really hear it when Link takes damage or you defeat the Octorok. It's more so like sound effects and things like that, but yeah, we can actually play the original Famicom version of this game too, so that's pretty fun. But like I said, we'll also go more in detail on the individual games themselves as we go through this series. So let's back out. We will be ignoring Zelda 2 entirely because reasons. Now, here's my thing. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening is my favorite game of all time. I've gotten pretty close to my 100th playthrough of this game. And you want to know how crazy I am? I want to go through this game 100% in every single language available. So far, I've gotten most of the way through the English version. I played a little bit of the French version, haven't played the Dutch or Japanese versions yet. Well, I played a little bit of the Japanese version. But yeah, to end off this video, let's go into the Japanese version of Link's Awakening. Now, we're not going to be doing a whole lot of stuff, but there are a couple things about this version that I would like to discuss. Namely, the fact that this is the only re-release of the original version of this game. Every other version, from the Virtual Console to Game Boy Online on Nintendo Switch, has always been the DX version. And I do consider that to be the definitive version of Link's Awakening, including the Switch remake. It's really interesting to see the original black and white version of Link's Awakening re-released at all, because there are a few different changes with this version of the game that you probably wouldn't really notice all that much if you'd ever play this version or anything like that. So it's really interesting. I always get this chills when I see this part, where just the camera zooms up and you see the windfish egg. And also the Japanese version just looks so cool. Just, why do Japanese logos always look better than everything else? Yeah, this is also one of the first changes you'll see whenever you play this game, is that in the DX version there are clouds in the background, but that apparently was too technologically advanced for the Game Boy.
Hi, my name is Marin. I'm a girly girl. I found your dead corpse on the beach. There are monsters all over the beach and it's all your fault. So go talk to Taryn and he'll give you a shield.
Hey man, I'm Taryn, here's your shield. We got your shield and it's got your name on it. That's pretty fancy.
Oh, you're opening up my treasure chest. Where to learn to do such a horrible thing?
I swear, whenever I replay this game, I'm going to give her honest voices and things like that. But, yeah, we're not going to be playing through a whole lot of Link's Awakening, as much as I want to replay through the entire game in this one video. But, yeah, I definitely do want to demonstrate a couple things that are pretty cool. Namely, the fact that the doghouse glitch has actually changed in this version. So, in the original versions of this game. Basically how this game works is that the overworlds are separated into two planes. There's the outside overworld and the inside overworld. And because of the way that the hit detection works on this door right here, I bumped the Game & Watch. Basically how the hit detection works right here is that if you're able to clip into this wall, that kind of glitches you into the indoor overworld. So, yeah, they never really bothered to... Okay, I'm gonna finish the cutscene real quick. Hoot, I'm an owl. And hey, look, I'm an owl. Look, I'm an owl, and I'm an owl, and I'm an owl. That was a very fascinating cutscene indeed. So, yeah, the funny thing about that is that throughout all the re-releases, through Virtual Console or Game Boy Online or anything like that, they've never fixed that glitch. It's funny because it's not like it's impossible, because there have been re-releases like that where they did fix it. I believe Paper Mario on Nintendo 64 Online has had some glitches fixed and things like that, even if the menus are kind of garbage. So, yeah, it's interesting that they did bother to go out of their way to fix that glitch in the Game & Watch version of this game. And it also makes me wonder if anybody would ever take advantage of that and try to speedrun this version of the game specifically, because the way they fixed the glitch in this game is what we just saw, where it teleports you by the beach. So it'd be interesting to see if anybody would ever speedrun this version, because it does technically take off like 20 seconds of a speedrun. Kinda. I don't know. Like, it is an interesting thing about. And to end off this video, let's go over here and talk to the best Zelda girl.
Hi, Link. I'm Marin. I can't read Japanese, but I'm going to assume that I'm going to talk about the Ballad of the Windfish now. It's the greatest song of all time. So I want you to shut up and turn up the volume so we can actually hear my song.
Link's Awakening is a very special game to me. And one of my favorite things in the entire game is the fact that there's one cutscene where I'm going to try to be as vague as possible, but this song plays a very important role later in the game. And when you come across it again at a certain point, it says something along the lines of, "The song will always remain in your heart." And as cheesy as it sounds, that has always been true for me. This song has always been very special to me. Alright, so there's going to be a couple other things I'd like to demonstrate real quick. First of all, you can change the screen size to stretch it out into full screen. I don't care that much, but for preservation's sake, well, not preservation's sake, but for why can't I say that word? For authenticity's sake, that only took a million tries. This is the reason why I had this aspect ratio. And the final thing that I'd like to talk about with the Game & Watch, probably the coolest thing about this entire thing. The Triforce on the back is glow in the dark! This is just so cool. It lights up when you turn it on and you play with it. I love this so much. It's so cool. Oh, but I have a fun story about this. So, I work at Galaxy's Edge. One of my main locations is Olga's Cantina, which the inside of it's pretty dark. Like, the inside of it doesn't have very high lighting and things like that, which is intentional because it's meant to be like a themed bar. So your focus is meant to be on either DJ Rex or the awesome bartenders or all the fun stuff and things like that. So when the Game & Watch first came out, I had it in my pocket because I was playing Link's Awakening whenever I had the chance to. One day, I was randomly reaching down to my pocket to grab the Oasis bottle and some napkins and things like that to clean the table, and I see this random glowing Triforce in my pocket. And I'm like, wait, what's that? Is there a spot on these pants? What did I do? Oh, wait. Oh, the Triforce on the Game & Watch glows in the dark. That is so cool. But I probably shouldn't take this with me to work anymore, because somebody might notice that and wonder what's going on with my pants. That was a great way to word that. But that's going to be it for this episode of Game & Watch The Legend of Zelda. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. In the next episode, we'll be playing through the opening of the original Zelda game. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and until next time, Lady Gator to you. Oh yeah.